You're listening to a Bored to Death Solocast, where one member of our clan talks TV shows and movies in easily digestible chunks. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and other assorted gender assignations. Welcome to a Bored to Death Solocast. This was supposed to be a sort of Bingecast first look, but when we first got it, I wasn't feeling up for watching it, and then so Chris and Zeke and Sam all watched it together, really enjoyed it, and then before we could sit down to watch it again with me involved and record this, we're in the middle of a COVID scare, and so we're all quarantining and social distancing, and unfortunately we're not really set up to do recordings from multiple locations right now. Something we'll look into in the future. But this first look, Bingecast, is for the movie Willy's Wonderland, a horror comedy or comedy horror movie starring Nicolas Cage, which should tell you all you need to know right there about where the comedy probably comes from, because Nick Cage is insane. And I say that in a good way. That's where a lot of the entertainment value from his movies tend to come from these days. I'd heard the movie's title name dropped in a couple of conversations, but didn't know any details until I then heard it was like Nicolas Cage versus Five Nights at Freddy's. Okay, interesting. Then Sam showed me the trailer. Sam and Zeke showed me the trailer, and I was like, all right, now you have my attention. And it just came out this weekend. As I said, they watched it the other day, and then Zeke had a COVID scare, and Sam isn't feeling very well either. So far, I feel fine, but you know, in this day and age, we have to take precautions. So we may sit down again at some point and get the whole clan together to talk about it. But that's going forward. Now, what can I say about this? I literally only know what I've seen from the trailer. Nicolas Cage is some sort of drifter whose car breaks down. He takes a simple little night job from a guy who owns a Chuck E. Cheese style place called Willy's Wonderland to just clean it overnight. And well, it's like apparently the animatronics are all programmed for murder, and some teenagers from nearby go inside and stuff happens. I literally don't know anything more than that. As I said, I was intrigued at first when I first heard about it. It caught my attention when I saw the trailer. Horror stuff isn't usually my thing. As you may have noticed a few months ago when we did Horror Cast for October, I did not participate. That's because I'm not really a huge horror fan. Never really will be. I find horror fascinating, but the problem is the way my brain works and my imagination works, it'll pop back up when I'm least ready for it, like when I'm trying to fall asleep, or when I'm actually falling asleep, and then suddenly I have nightmares. And I don't really want that. So, yeah, I'm not a big horror guy. Not with movies, not with video games. But hey, this looks like it's going to be entertaining because it's Nicolas Cage, and he's going to serve up some plates of ham, which is what you are hiring Nicolas Cage for these days. I've heard a couple of other things, like Chris mentioned earlier to me, that this was apparently something Nicolas Cage had been wanting to do, because if what I've heard is true, or what I've heard is correct, he doesn't talk in this movie, which is interesting. I'm wondering how you can have a Nicolas Cage freak-out moment without him talking, but according to Chris, that was something that Cage has been wanting to do for a while, because he really likes like silent movie era, sort of physical acting without having to verbalize a whole lot. So we'll see how this goes. Not really much else to say. as you may have noticed when I was doing Mandocast alone a few months ago, if I'm by myself, the recordings tend to be shorter because I need somebody else to bounce off of to get a conversation going. Otherwise, I run out of stuff to say. So, yeah, that about wraps up this little intro. So I will see you after the binge. While the binge is happening, thanks for listening to our podcast. Please give us a like and subscribe and spread the word. You can reach us on social media on Facebook or Twitter at BTD_Bingecast. The Bored to Death Clan is part of the CKCC Radio podcast family, including J Bunny's Music Hub, the Race Nerd Podcast, Real Paranormal Talk, Ranking Tracks, Motivational Moves, Girls Who Like, and The Nerd Table. Please consider supporting CKCC Radio on Patreon. And now, the binge is done, so let's get to the discussion. And I'm back. So, this movie was definitely a comedy. If only because it's Nick Cage, and that's literally what you're going to be hiring him for. You are not necessarily going to be hiring him because you expect it to be taken seriously. In the year 2020, in 2020 and 2021, you are not hiring Nicolas Cage to be serious. You are hiring Nick Cage to be Nick Cage. And yeah, he was definitely Nick Cage, even though in this role he did not talk at all. He literally had no dialogue whatsoever. He barely emoted for most of the movie. Most of his acting was literally just physical, him glaring at stuff or just staring things down with nary a twitch of his lips. The basic gist of the movie is Willy's Wonderland, this Chuck E. Cheese style place, which was opened in the mid-90s, had been opened by some guy that turned out to be a serial killer, and that he had sort of cultivated in his employees a bunch of other creepers and killers. And yeah, they basically just they would invite people into the private party room and then kill them. And when the feds finally came to apprehend them, his little cult decided, we're not being taken alive, enacted a satanic ritual, and now they're possessing these animatronics. And when the place was purchased by somebody new, and they reopened it, the killings continued. They tried to shut the place down, tried to demolish it, but the animatronics started killing people. So the townsfolk made a deal. You leave us and our families alone, and we'll feed you. So they literally work with the sheriff, put out some spike strips to blow out somebody's tires, have the local mechanic come around with his truck to tow them back into town, where he basically says, I got to order in the parts. They won't be until tomorrow. But the hotel's all booked. But hey, here's what I can do for you. And so Tex McAdoo, the guy that owns Willy's now, offers them a place to stay for the night. It's like, you got to do a little bit of light cleaning, but I will pay for the repairs to your car or truck or whatever. And then the animatronics just feast. Problem is, when Nick Cage rocks into town, and he takes it seriously, and the Janitor, that's the only name the character's ever given, is just the Janitor, he takes his job seriously. He takes it very seriously. He's a cleaning machine. And when the animatronics start trying to kill him, he kills them. Then just cleans himself off, puts on a fresh, clean t-shirt, and goes back to work until his watch goes off, and he's like, time for a break. He pops himself a soda, plays some pinball, and when the timer goes off again, he goes back to work. It's like, what? He's like just a machine about this. And well, the kids in town are very much aware of what's happening, at Willy's, and the final girl, Liv, who is a survivor of one set of victims. Her parents had been killed by Willy and the animatronics, and so this local sheriff took her in and adopted her, and she hates her for it, and hates Willy's, and has frequently tried to burn the place down, and she keeps interfering in it. And then, with Nick, she decides she gets her friends together. They're like, we're going to burn the place down. And then they find out he's still in there. Arson's okay, but murder, she's not okay with that. A couple of her friends are like, hey, he made his bed, he's got to lie in it, kind of thing, if he wants to get cremated. But they're like, we're not going in there. So Liv goes in to try to save him, gets stuck inside, gets attacked and screams. So they go up to try to find a way in to help her. They get into an argument, and then the roof collapses because the building hasn't been upkept that well. And so then there's a whole new group of victims for the animatronics to kill. You've got Liv, although she's final girl, she made it. There was her simp, the simp's jerk of a friend, the sort of the negative Nancy, if you will, although he's a guy. You have Black and Nerdy. You have Black AF. These were like the two black kids in town, I guess. One of them nerdier than the others. He grows weed. And the other one is just, he's the one who doesn't want to go into the building either. And him and his little bimbo girlfriend. And once they're inside, she wants to check out the super fun room, which we found out is the room in the place where the serial killers all committed suicide and did their little ritual, where she gets turned on. So she and Black AF decide let's get it on. You can probably guess what happens. All of those kids die except for Liv. Nick Cage, just badasses his way through everything. It's not to say that he gets through entirely unscathed. He gets scratched early on by one of the animatronics. Another one bruises his ribs, and he's just taping himself up with duct tape in between changing shirts. And it's an insane movie. And seeing him go into one of the restrooms, which is defaced with graffiti and is a pigsty, and he cleans it up in the space of an hour, gets rid of all of the spray paint and graffiti on the walls and everything, with some apparently pretty powerful cleaning agents without wearing any gloves. But hey, this is one of those movies where you're not supposed to think about that kind of thing. And he manages to haul around animatronics, shove them into garbage bags, and drag them out and chuck them in the dumpster. It's insane. And yeah, it's the kids, once they're inside, basically become too dumb to live, and they split up rather than sticking together or trying to find a way out of there. I don't know. But the movie was very, very entertaining, mostly just because you're waiting to see what Nick Cage is going to do next. We do get a brief glimpse of him starting to do one of his classic Nick Cage freakouts, but it gets cut off when they cut away to show something else. And when we cut back, he's basically squatting on the face of one of the animatronics and basically trying to snap its neck with his knees or something. I don't know specifically what was going on there, and I prefer not to think about that, but it was a very, very entertaining movie. I would recommend scoping it out if you get the chance. Despite the fact that it's sort of labeled as horror comedy, very light on the horror. There's only one or two kind of jump scares, but there's gore and from some of the deaths, and a lot of blood and animatronic goop flying all over the place. But, very entertaining movie. I would definitely recommend scoping it out if you get the chance. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add because, again, as I said earlier, I kind of need somebody else to bounce off of so I can keep the discussion going a little bit. But maybe once our little COVID scare dies down and we're able to get in the same room together and to record something, maybe then we'll give our group thoughts on Willy's Wonderland. It's, and a few things about it, I appreciate that they actually did go to the trouble of writing a jingle and like a rock and roll version of the jingle that plays in a couple scenes and over part of the credits. And especially since a lot of the budget probably had to go into designing the animatronics stuff for the actors to wear as they're moving around the animatronic characters, and of course to Nick Cage's pay, whatever that is. Then again, it's Nick Cage. He could have been like, I'll do it for like $50,000 because this looks like fun. I have no idea. Actually, while I was watching, the Peanut Gallery joined me. And so we were sort of commenting on a couple things, but she decided to leave after we were done. And I commented to her, it's like, I don't know if the movie was written originally to be a serious, and it tried to make an attempt at a serious horror movie, or and then Nick Cage showed up and they're like, well, we can't really be taken too seriously if Nick Cage is in it. Let's just go for comedy. Or if it was written this way and that's why Nick Cage took the project on. I don't think it would have worked with anybody else as the janitor. So yeah, it's, again, good movie, worth checking out if you like some dumb horror movie stuff, and Nick Cage being Nick Cage without really being Nick Cage. So yeah, that will wrap up this little Bingecast, Solocast first look. Again, maybe we'll be able to get the clan together to do a group recap review of it. But for now, that's it. So for the rest of the Bingecasts, Bored to Death clan, I am Jay, and we will see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Bored to Death Bingecast. Be sure to check out our library of past podcasts via CKCC Radio or via our YouTube channel, and give us a like and subscribe. We'll see you after our next binge.